Good morning, world, and welcome to the Daily Huddle. Today's Friday, and as you know, every Friday, my colleagues and I get here and we talk all things leadership and business. And before we start, I have a question for my dear friend, Andrea. Andrea, today is all about motivation. So in honor of the misconceptions about motivation, I have a question for you.
What's that, Zorel?
How many motivational speakers does it take to change a light bulb?
I'm going to say one, but it needs to be done at 4 a.m. I don't know.
Actually, Andrea, get this, 0. Because the change starts with you.
Oh, that's good.
I thought you were going to say 1, but the light bulb really has to want to change.
Yes.
That's the psychiatry one.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I really like it.
No, I think you're sharing the wrong space.
Yeah, we're seeing the tent, Gio.
Yeah.
Come on back, Lizette.
Do it again.
No. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, folks.
Still no, Gio. There it is.
Now, this is what it looks like when you're being with everything in life, just as it is. A good friend of mine named Eckhart Tolle said, how do you know that you are in the right circumstances? He says that because this is the ones you're in. The circumstances you're in are the right circumstances all the time. So I have a couple of questions to prep us and get us in the mood for this conversation with my friend Rex Sikes. Author Robin, good morning, sir. Where are you and what time is it?
Well, I'll tell you what, Sorrel, if I survey my location, I would say that I am right here, right now, right where I want to be. And I'll tell you what, no, right where I'm supposed to be. And the time is right now, the only time we got, brother.
Right now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here now. And thank you for being the one who gives us all things Google. I love you, brother. Thank you for being here. Good morning, Tara Heaton. Are you safe?
Well, my lovely husband is driving and we're headed to Atlanta for the
Yay! All right. So Tara, tell me, what are you grateful for and who are you going to hug today?
Oh my goodness. Well, I am of course gonna hug Catherine Sable today.
Of course.
And Sorrel, I'm grateful for you.
Right back at you, Tara. Be safe. Thank you for being here. Rex has a phenomenal conversation in store for all of us. And before we dive right into that, I want to ask Giovanni Gonzalez, the co-founder of the Daily Huddle and my good friend and business partner. Gio, how are you?
Thank you, Sorrel. Today I am the way I say I am. And today I say I am thoughtful.
Love it. And later on today, I'll call you and say, what have you been thinking about, Gio?
Yes.
Yes,
What did you think?
I
What were you thinking?
Well, folks, today's statement as a context for this conversation is the misconception about motivation. And none other than our friend, Rex Sikes, the author of this book, Life on Your Terms, is here to debunk, in a way, motivation. So I'm introducing Rex to you as the author of this book, but more importantly, I want to introduce you to someone when you look at him, you're seeing yourself. And who that is someone who's given over his life to making the world a better place and to making your life more effective. Effective in this sense, I'm beginning to fall in love with this word, sovereign. To be sovereign is to be someone who says, I'm the king or the queen of my life. Life goes the way I say, and how it's going now is the way I said. So Rex, that's who you are for me. That's the model you are. And I'm so excited to have you on the Daily Huddle. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, my friend. And I couldn't be anyplace else.
And there you go.
I am right here in the right place at the right time with the right people.
So Rex, you and I know, and everybody who's here has this as a human being. There are things I want to accomplish in my life. And sometimes I will say to myself, I just don't want to do that. Or I'll say, why did I ever promise to do that? Why did I say yes to Giovanni? Right? And I'll say to myself, maybe what I lack is motivation, as if me being motivated is what's required for me to be in action or for me to create the things I want in my life. So when I read this chapter in your book about the misconception about motivation, I thought it would be the perfect conversation for this morning for business owners, parents, teenagers growing up, you name it. This conversation is for everyone. So what is the misconception about motivation, Rex?
Wow. Well, first, a lovely introduction, a lovely introduction to the question, and a great question to ask. There is so much misinformation that is being propagated by people out there who ought to know better, and maybe they do, or maybe they don't. And I've kind of taken it on myself over the last 40, 50 years to try and demythify a lot of the topics that are near and dear to people in personal and professional development. And one of those is about motivation, and there's certainly others, and I address some of them in my book. The important thing that most people don't realize is that each and every one of us is just one decision away from success. And it's a decision, it's a decision to use, wherever you are, you decided to be there, whether you consciously made that decision or whether by default you made the decision. And what a lot of people don't understand is that they are deciding by default, and they are accepting the consequences of that, because even a lack of decision is a decision made. So they're living, they don't want to be accountable and don't want to be responsible. So they blame their circumstances, they blame other people, they blame events, they blame, whatever the situations are, instead of saying, I am the author, the creator. I am sovereign, as you so wonderfully said. I'm the creator of my life. And by my decisions, I move forward or I move backwards. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
Now, we talked about the law of the universe. The laws of the universe are neutral. They don't care if it's good or bad or positive or negative or right or wrong. They just operate. It's like algebra. The outcome that you get in algebra isn't like good or bad. It just is the outcome based on the rules of algebra. And people need to understand that their decisions determine what they get in their life and what they don't get in their life. And if they don't like something, they can decide it differently. But here's the caveat, and I'll get into the whole motivation piece because it ties in. Mm-hmm. That is that we are creatures of our habits, our thought habits, our feeling habits, our word habits, the self-talk or the talk that we do to others, and our behaviors. And these habits determine the results that we get. And so when it comes to making a decision, some people need to change their habits. They need to change their thought habit or their feeling habit or their word habit or their behavior habit or something or all of them in order to get to different kinds of results. And when it comes to motivation, most people assume that motivation will come to them. It will somehow show up. The idea of motivational speakers is insane, and yet that's what we call them. It's people can encourage you. They can tell you this is what you should do. They can say, if you do that, you go to the mountain and the mountain will respond. They can do all that stuff. But until you make the internal decision to do those things, it just essentially falls on deaf ears, because it's not the speaker who's motivational. It's the internal decision that is made. That is where true motivation comes. So, and we'll talk more about that, but I want to give you an opportunity.
Yeah, pause for a moment, because one thing you said, when you said that however my life is today, it makes a big difference to me to say, I'm the one who chose to have this life now. Now, in many instances in my life, I didn't say that.
Mhm.
I simply lamented about my circumstances and wished that my circumstances would be different. So for people who are just, I'm not saying they're just hearing this, but for the first time, maybe they're actually sitting there saying, wow, I could actually say that. I am here, I'm in these circumstances because I chose that. How would you advise me and others to deal with the feeling that envelops me when I say, oh my God, I'm living this life and I chose it, as if it's my fault?
Well, again, that's a decision that one makes about their active participation in their own life and whether they decide it's a fault or not. You know, we're conditioned not to be responsible or acceptable. We accept along certain lines. You know, if you make your bed, did you make your bed? Yes or no? Okay, you know, so now you have to sleep in a messy bed, or you made it and congratulations. But people don't say, for the most part, we don't grow up with people saying, you're in charge of everything you do by the decisions that you make, by who you are. Who you are determines what you do, and what you do determines what you'll have, and what you have is based on, again, who you are. A lot of people think it the other way around. If you get these things by working really, really hard, then you'll be something important, or you'll transform your life. And it's absolutely the other way around. You have to start from a person who says, I'm going to, Napoleon Hill said this. He said, you must have a desire or white hot obsession in order to have enough energy to want to change whatever it is you want to change, to make, you know, whether you want riches or something else in life. You have to start with this really strong desire. And a lot of people, you said, wish. I've spent my life wishing that things were different. I wanted things different. I wished things different. I hoped things different. I prayed things different, and nothing really changed. And the point is that so many people spend their life with one foot on the dock and another foot on the boat, wishing that they could get to wherever they want to go in the boat. But they have to understand that to get to that destination, they have to stop wishing, take one foot off the dock, put both feet in the boat, and get going. And that's what people haven't been conditioned to do, is to say, I'm in charge of my life. I am the sovereign authority. I am the person. I am the author of my life. And therefore, what happens to me, while things can happen on the outside, I determine how I go through them. I determine how I navigate them. It's kind of, if you're the driver of your car and you get to a detour, you can either stop and whine and cry and blame the world that there's a detour, or you can make the turn and go to the detour. How you navigate things. You know, it's not that there aren't things in the world that, you know, obstacles. One of my favorite examples is there are actually people in the Olympics and other sporting areas who put obstacles in their path on a runway that they have to jump over them in order and to get to the end. It's called hurdle racing, right? So they actually put hurdles in front of themselves, obstacles in front of their pathway that they have to jump over at high speed in order to win the race. And most of us are conditioned to not want any hurdles in life. We don't want any obstacles. We don't want any challenges. And what people have to understand is that every obstacle, every challenge, every hardship, every disappointment, everything is an absolute gift. Because what it does is, if you don't like it, and if you don't like it enough, and it becomes a white hot obsession with you to change it, you will change it. If, on the other hand, you simply tolerate it, and it's not inconvenient enough, and it doesn't hurt you enough, it doesn't harm you enough, then you just sit and wallow in it. And that's the sad part with a lot of people, is they accept the hardship and complain about it, whine about it, blame about it, make excuses about it. But they have to get to the point where they go, never again. That's it. I'm done. I won't go there anymore. I'm going to do this instead. And they change it because they develop this powerful desire. Innovation comes from discomfort.
Yeah. So pause for a moment. Don't lose your train of thought. I want to introduce a comment by Giovanni by reading one in the chat, and it's in the same direction. It says, it's our fault. And I'm going to massage the word fault. It's our responsibility. We're responsible for where we are. Then, if that's the case, we're also responsible for where we're going. We're responsible for changing the future. Giovanni, add in.
So before I say something, I love how you say, I'm going to massage the word fault. And that was so clever. I love that. I'm going to start using that. That was so nice. Rex, thank you for being here, man. You have such a great soul, man. You're such a great soul. I love you. And I've never met you, and I love you. I wanted to include something in the conversation and see where it goes. This is certainly a conversation that I have made my whole life is wrapped about what we're talking about. So I really mean I am committed to what I'm saying. I'm not just talking. But what I wanted to include was, there is a line in the last Batman movie where Catwoman says to Batman, don't talk like a rich person. You don't know what you're talking about. And the line hit me. It really did, because I mean, it hit me in the context of a real compassion for someone who sees themselves genuinely as a victim of their circumstances. Because genuinely, people are victim of their circumstances until they discover they're not. But that bridge of discovering I am not a victim of my circumstances, it's a tough pill to swallow. And I have a real compassion for wherever people are, because as much I want to hit him with a hammer, and with a hammer of the way Sorrel said it, I'm going to massage the way people speak. As much as I want to hit them with a hammer, I really see that without an environment for responsible speaking, people can't see that their life is made by the decisions. People can't really see it. It's so difficult. It's so hard. And that's why I love motivational speakers too. Anyway, I wanted to add that to the conversation and to you, Rex, and thank you, Sorrel.
Gio, stay right here. I love that, right? It's very confronting. I swear, the first time I heard you are responsible for the life you're living, my immediate answer was BS. No, I'm not. The people who did XYZ are. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't be here, right? So you are absolutely right. It's a hard pill to swallow. And as someone, as a man who grew up in a country called Haiti, I could say I have plenty of excuses to blame the world for the plight of my country, the plight of my people, and perhaps how I was born, how I was raised, and everything I inherited. So I get you completely. And Gio, if you'll allow me to say this, sometimes it does take being hit with a 2x4 to wake up.
Rex is a 2x4, sir.
And there are many times that I have been hit with a 2x4. And there are many times when there were people in my life who brought to the table the compassion you were talking about. And I think both of them, even though one shows up as a 2x4 and the other shows up as a feather, both are being compassionate in some way. And sometimes ruthless compassion may be what's needed in my life and in someone's life. So thank you for bringing that, Gio.
Yeah, thank you for including me. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Rex.
All right, Rex. So, I mean, what now?
Well, I mean, how much time do we have? I could speak for this for days. I mean,
Well,
no,
tell you what,
very-
let's open it up for questions. It's 20 after.
well, let me,
And inside of the questions that show up,
Sorrel, I think Rex
conversation.
wanted to say something, Sorrel.
Go ahead, Rex.
well, I just wanted to say that, I was saying we're creatures of habit. We have to understand that it's not about blaming a person or persons or events or circumstances. Taking responsibility isn't assigning blame or fault. Taking responsibility is saying, I can do something about this, and realize that if you want it to be different, that may be the only option you have, because anyone else or anything else may not step up to the plate for you. So if you want your life to be different, you need to do something about it. Now, that said, we're creatures of habit. Consider this for a second. Jesus hung out with prostitutes, tax collectors, religious people who were screwed up in whatever way they were screwed up, sinners of all sorts. Let's just put it that way. He didn't blame them. He didn't say, you guys suck because you do these bad things. He would heal them. He would minister to them. He would feed them. He would do it. He accepted them, because you have to accept people where they're at. My point is that when you're comfortable, oftentimes you do nothing. But if there's a pebble in your shoe and it hurts, or your shoe's too tight, you can change it. So hardship and discord and problems and all sorts of disappointment in the world are actually gifts to help wake us up. And when we recognize them as gifts, you can look at anything as a problem and it'll be a problem. You can look at anything as a blessing or a gift, and it can be a blessing or a gift. Whether it actually is or isn't, your attitude will determine what you do with it. So when you're faced with problems, as difficult, you'll respond habitually however you respond. But when you understand that this is really an opportunity, it's like your alarm clock waking up. Some people throw it across the room and go, I don't want to wake up to that. And other people get up and celebrate the day. It's a choice.
Thank you, Rex. You could say that the daily huddle is a good habit to have, where you practice creating the habit of saying, I'm responsible for my life. Thank you for creating that context. Ronald, good morning, brother.
Good morning. Good morning. This is a great subject. But the questions to Rex, since you did some elaborate work on motivation, what do you think trigger self-sabotage and when people are motivated and then they totally switch on their motivation and kind of drop what they were shooting? What do you think, from I guess you probably have gone to the level of really break it down to a science. So do you think there's a science to self-sabotage?
Actually, chapter 3 in my book is all about self-sabotage. And I think Sorrel and I talked about this before. So I want to be real careful to take time to stay on the topic of motivation. But here's what I would say. It's a beautiful question. And at the same time, I don't know, Ron, if I accept the premise of your question, meaning that they really, really want it and then they do something to thwart it. That seems to be one of those things that psychology has put on us to say, you want it. Well, if you wanted it bad enough, you wouldn't thwart yourself. I have to say that. Muhammad Ali, and I write about this in my book, said, I don't like to train. And there are days that I hate training. I just don't want to go out and run behind a car. I don't want to do these things. It's cold, it's wet. I don't want to do it. He said, but because I know that in order to be a world champion boxer, the one that he became, I have to go out and train. I don't care how I feel about it now. I'm going to go train. And he would go out and he would train and then come back in. Motivation comes from the decision. People think motivation is some kind of thing that comes from the outside, or that suddenly you have this feeling that you can do things. A lot of times, motivation comes from what you do. So it's kind of like pulling yourself up from your own bootstraps. If you want to feel good about cleaning your house, clean a small portion of your house. And then clean a little bit more and a little bit more. What happens is, in doing that, you start stacking up wins. And as you win, you start feeling more and more motivated. It comes from the activity of accomplishment, not from waiting for some kind of wind to overcome you and then make you feel different. So that's why Muhammad Ali could say, I don't feel like training. I do it anyway. So it's an interesting caveat, because at times we say, hey, you know, you need to use your feelings in order to move you forward. And at other times we have to say, you need to ignore your feelings if they're holding you back. So in this case, Muhammad Ali said, I ain't gonna, if I don't feel like training, I'm still gonna go train. And that was what he had to learn how to do in order to become the champion he became. Another person I write about is Jamie Nieto. He's a world-class high jumper. He was the oldest competing high jumper in 2012 or 2016. He competed in 8 and 16 and not in 12. After the 16 Olympics, he had an accident where he was paralyzed. He could only move his left pectoral muscle. And I do share his story in my book. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. And they decided he most likely would be a quadriplegic or at least never walk again in his life. Now, as an Olympic champion, you know, athlete, he decided, well, I'm not going to accept that prognosis and I'm going to do something about it. And when I discovered it, I called him up and essentially said the same thing. I'm like, Jamie, and if anybody can learn to do this, you can do it. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, I've already seen some progress. But he's married now to another Olympic athlete and a woman who's on America's Got Talent, Siobhan, and they now have 2 lovely children. But he wanted to walk his bride down the aisle, and this was about a year after he was declared, you know, a quadriplegic. He walked his unassisted. He walked his bride down the aisle unassisted by using his attitude. But I spent an afternoon with him, and I watched him walk into where we were meeting, and it took him over a half hour to get from his car to the inside of a restaurant where we were meeting for lunch, because he had to deliberately, consciously, I mean, we walk unconsciously. We don't even know how we walk or move. He had to deliberately try and move every muscle with the power of his mind, and with using a walker, and with a couple of guys, you know, and this was about 6 or 8 months, about 8 months after he originally had his accident. Took him forever to do the simple things. But you know what? He decided he was going to do this. And that's what we have to do. That's where motivation comes from. It's from the decision. It's from internal. And if you want it enough, you'll never let anything sabotage you.
Thank you, Rex. Let's take one more question and then we'll wrap it up. Galaxy, you had a question.
Oh, it's Florence. Sorry. It wasn't. Sorry, I didn't realize that my thing is saying Galaxy. But anyway, whoa, this conversation is absolutely pertinent, and it's happening in my life right now. I'm just gonna give a personal experience in that I walked out of a relationship which had become habitual over like a 14-year period. And then, this is not the first time I walked away. This time I deliberately figured out that it was not bringing me any joy. Over that 14-year period, it was not bringing me joy. And joy is what I am here for, it's my birthright. So after I walked out, it's a year ago, recently, my body started telling me I need to be back there. But my mind said to me, why did you leave? Has that thing that made you leave been resolved? So I decided to tell my body, I don't care how you feel, I'm not going back. I know that I deserve joy, and I'm going to be walking into the relationship that is going to bring me that joy. And with that, I'm complete.
Thank you, Florence. Thank you. What everybody's sharing is bringing me joy. And Rex, what you brought to the party this morning leaves me with this one phrase: the shortest distance between me and now and me being motivated is the next action I take, regardless of how I feel right now. So in the end, motivation is not a feeling.
Right.
Motivation is the action I take in a direction I say I want. So Rex, how do you want to wrap up this morning's conversation, sir?
Well, a lot of people make it very difficult and talk about, motivation. They talk about how much you have to sacrifice and effort in order to get your dreams. And it's not that none of those things aren't possible or necessary. It's that it just doesn't have to be that way. Now, when Napoleon Hill, looked at about 520 of the richest people in the world, he found out that most of them had lose their fortunes or had great disruptions prior to them becoming successful. And they became successful in spite of those, or maybe they became successful because of those. And the point that most people have in their life, or the thing that most people have in their life, is that they blame their circumstances, or they blame themselves, or they blame other people, or they blame events for where they are in the world. And what you shared in the very beginning, you're in the right place at the right time, and the circumstances are right, and everything is a gift. And if you're alive to be on the planet at this moment, no matter what you're going through, if you understand that you can make a difference because you decide you can make a difference, because you believe you can make a difference, because you develop the certainty that you can make a difference, then it doesn't matter what others say, or it matters what you say to yourself, but it doesn't matter what other people say, or if they say nay, or if you don't really feel like it, because you can develop that certainty. And once you start doing that, taking that action and developing that mindset and that attitude, things get easier because you get better. And when you get better, it doesn't mean that the circumstances change. It means you better navigate the circumstances. So here's how I would sum it up. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but the first step you have to take is a decision in your mind to go on the journey. The very next step you have to take is, how do I want to journey? Do I want it to be a pain in the butt, or do I want to celebrate it all along the way? Because if you get to your destination and it's been aggravating the entire time, how long do you have to celebrate it? But what if you celebrate it all the way to your destination? Then life becomes truly grand, and you can make your life grand. And I encourage people to get the book, read about the self-sabotage or motivation or any of these things. But most importantly, you're the author of your life. Live it the way you want to live it, in a way that doesn't harm anyone else and that contributes to the world, and celebrate everything.
The book is Life on Your Terms. The author is Rex Sikes, and Rex Sikes is ours. And I'm so grateful for that. Rex, thank you for being here. Thank you for making.
Where can we find the book? Amazon
Okay.
or?
I'll tell you what, you can go to my website, which is rexsikes.com/book. And that will tell you how to get the book. And if you get the book, it's not $20, it's $40, something like that. But when you get the book, I will give you a $497 bonus online video training on mastery, how you master your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your behaviors, motivation, just for getting the book. So rexsikes.com, you can find the book, or rexsikes.com/book.
And on the post for today's episode, all of the information regarding that is there, and we'll post it in the thread as well. Rex, everyone who's here, thank you for creating this day as the contribution that we mean it to be. Tomorrow is August 12th. The day is here. Can you believe it? It's one day away. The hosts and co-hosts of the Daily Huddle will be together in Alpharetta tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. We are inviting you to come join us, to practice living a life of your own creation, and to practice mastering the tenets of the Daily Huddle. So go to the dailyhuddleevent.com to register now. And when you come, you'll be practicing with us to love, to laugh out loud, to stress less, to eat in a way that feeds your body, so that your body is this vehicle for you to do the thing you are here to do. To sleep, to give, and to move your body. And every now and then, in the context of living life on your terms, you will practice checking your assumptions before you move forward. Thank you. This is your Daily Huddle. We'll see all of you tomorrow morning in Alpharetta at the Daily Huddle live event. Go to thedailyhuddleevent.com to register. Until then, have a great weekend, everyone.
I forgot the video. See you guys
You can
tomorrow.
say bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And